Dan Morse is now going to discuss the permitting process for a mine proposal. Dan is the Public Lands Director for the High Country Citizens Alliance. He works to protect the Gunnison Valley using his background in public lands management and economics. So now I present Dan Morse.
Thanks, Dave. Good evening. I am going to talk a bit about the permitting process for a mine proposal on Mount Emmons. Such a proposal would be considered a major proposal, and there are a large number of permits that are required before a major mine can begin. They include every permit on the following list. The major permitting agencies can be broken down into really 5 groups: the U.S. Forest Service, the state of Colorado, Gunnison County, the town of Crested, Butte, and then some other permits, assorted permits that might be difficult to get but aren't easily grouped. I'm going to talk about each of them briefly. The Forest Service permit process would be the most comprehensive of the permits. The Forest Service protects resources from impacts by ensuring that operations meet agency standards. When a company submits a plan of operations, the first step is a review to ensure that it meets agency requirements. When this review is complete, the plan is accepted and the NEPA process begins. The NEPA process starts with a public scoping period, and it focuses on developing alternatives and analyzing impacts. If there is the possibility of significant effects to Forest Service resources, an environmental impact statement, or EIS, must be prepared. An EIS is the most comprehensive analysis that the federal agencies prepare. It is likely that an EIS for a major mining proposal could take as long as 4 or 5 years to complete. Additionally, because of agency policy, an item to note is that the GMUG Forest Supervisor would be the Forest Service official responsible for conducting the EIS and issuing the eventual decision. Here's a look at the Forest Service process. The first step in NEPA would be the creation of an interdisciplinary team, or ID team, who are composed of specialists. They would identify issues and then a proposed action. The Forest Service might hire a contractor during this phase to help during the NEPA process. They'd be paid by the proponents, but the Forest Service would oversee them. The Forest Service would then start its public scoping period, and although this would be the first comment period, public input would continue all along, and the Forest Service does encourage our participation. They want our input early in the process. Once a plan is received, comments are welcome and they are very important. We do need to understand, however, that a no-action alternative of not developing a mine may not entirely be legal because of the 1872 mining law. Another thing to know about the Forest Service and the state of Colorado is that during their consideration of a proposal, they would coordinate on all aspects of that proposal on public lands, and this is important because the public will need to participate with both agencies. So a little bit about the state of Colorado. The Division of Reclamation, Mining, and Safety is the agency within the state responsible for permitting, operation, environmental protection, and rehabilitation of mine sites. The division regulates Colorado's mining industry through policy, plan review, permits, inspections, reclamation plans, and bonding. The division would assign a project lead to a project, and they would coordinate a team who would consider an application, set a bond, inspect, and enforce on that permit. It's easiest to think about their work really in 4 different groups. First is permitting. They require a lot of different input during the permitting process, and at the end of it, they can approve with conditions, or deny a permit application. Second is bonding. They set bond amounts so that there is enough money on hand to clean up the property if someone walks away. Third is inspection. Major operations can be visited up to 1 time per month for inspections. And finally, enforcement. If things don't go wrong, they can change the bond amount, fine, or change the permit. Next, Gunnison County. The county has 2 ways of regulating projects: the Gunnison County Land Use Resolution and the Special Development Project Regulations, which are sometimes referred to as the 1041 regulations. Here you can see some of the actual language from the Gunnison County LUR, and I don't expect you to read it all, but there's really 3 main points in here. First is that mining operations are required to obtain a permit from the county. Second, the permit is a balance of interests between extracting a mineral and protecting other natural resources, land uses, safety, and the county's tax base. Third, the LUR regulations explicitly state that special development projects are also subject to the LUR. So they really come in under two sets of regulations at the county level. Here are a few basic facts about the LUR as it relates to a major impact proposal. The LUR addresses a wide range of issues. A major impact proposal can take at least 6 months to consider, and the county process would require information from other agencies. And then finally, the decision for a major impact permit under the LUR is made by both the Planning Commission and the county commissioners. They can approve with conditions, or deny permit applications. Next, I'd like to discuss the Special Development Project Regulations. Some of you know them as 1041. They govern very large projects that meet one of the criteria here on the screen. One thing to know about these regulations is that they are currently being updated, and that no new special development projects can be reviewed until that update is complete. The public is very much encouraged to participate in that process, and the next opportunity will be November 5th. You would check the county website for more information. Again, I don't expect you to read all of this, but these are some of the things that can be considered by the county during the special development project process. The critical thing to know here is that they enable the county to look at both on-site and off-site impacts, including everything on this list. Things like decisions by other agencies, impacts to surface and groundwater quality, and the effects to the local economy. So clearly there are some strong regulations at our local level to help us through this process. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Crested Butte Municipal Watershed Ordinance. Here you can see a map of the watershed showing the town itself, the Kebler Pass Road, the Keystone Mine Site, and all the way up here, Lake Irwin. The Watershed Ordinance was first enacted in 1978 and has since been upheld by the Colorado State Supreme Court and additional case law. It was updated in 1996 and is being updated again currently. As you can see here, activities in the watershed must obtain a permit. And the town council in this case can approve with conditions, or deny that permit application. Here are some of the actual text from that resolution, or from that ordinance, pardon me. A number of activities are presumed to cause degradation of the watershed, including drainage alterations, timbering, and mining. The important point to note here is that this section of the ordinance doesn't require the council to demonstrate how proposals would cause degradation. Instead, the burden of proof is on the proponent to prove how they would not. The Watershed Ordinance contains standards that would be used to evaluate a permit application. As you can see, there are many criteria that must be met, and these are designed to protect the public. Until the ongoing update of the ordinance is complete, no decisions on permit applications can be made. And like the county special development project regulations, there will be opportunities for public input when the ordinance is revised. There are other permits that would be required for a major mine, and they're listed here. While these permits might not be considered the big permits for a mining operation, they do address important aspects of a major mine, and there would be opportunities for the public to participate with all of those agencies. One thing to think about is how the permits would fit together in a sequence, if you will, during this process. The most effective order for the major permits would be Forest Service first, followed by the state of Colorado, then Gunnison County, and finally the town of Crested Butte. Doing it in this order would ensure that the best information would be available to each of the entities at the appropriate times. So I'll leave you with the bottom line. The bottom line is that a mine is not a done deal. Permitting a mine is a lengthy, complex process, and while we can't underestimate the proponents of a mine, we can participate and be effective in this permitting process. It can be as long as 4 or 5 years, with state permitting and local permits taking additional years to complete, adding up to maybe as many as 8 years before a permit can be issued. So High Country Citizens Alliance will keep you informed when those opportunities for public participation come up, and we encourage you to tell the agencies what you think.